Hello and welcome to another edition of Upon Further Review. I am the coach Shannon Griffith alongside my compadre Eric 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 semi-state weekend here in the Fort Wayne area, or should I say Allen County area, as we detail the games from the semi-state, as well as take a little peek at the state tourney that's going to happen Friday and Saturday down in Lucas Oil Stadium right after Turkey Day this Thursday, and 2 games on Friday and a 1 game on Thursday or Saturday. We'll get to in a second. Shortly, we're going to be joined by Max Kaehr from Adams Central High School, and he will come in and fill us in all the details of their big win, Eric, up at Andrean. Not an easy place to play, as well as the game that we had on the Midwest Box Break high school football game of the week on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. The Garrett Railroaders' magical season came to an abrupt end at the hands of the Bishop Luers Knights, who have been nothing but on fire since the start of the tourney, knocking off, I believe, all undefeated teams for the most part since the regional or sectional championship through the semi-state. You had Mississinawa, you had Mechanicawa, and now you can add Garrett Railroaders to that list of names. And a game that, dude, quite honestly, all bad happened in the first half for the Bishop Luers Knights, including their first drive of the game that went on 11 plays, only to have Jace White's interception thrown to none other than
Calder
Hefty, and returned it some 97 plus yards for a touchdown. I mean, it could not have been scripted any better for Bishop Luers, with the one exception: don't throw a pick on the first drive of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was huge. We always talk about a good start, getting out to a good start. And Garrett was able to do that. They were up 14-0 at halftime. And then Luers came out in that second half and really put it on them, scoring 28 unanswered in that second half to win 28-14 to advance to the state championship in Class 3A. So yeah, a huge win for Luers, monumental game that was out at Luers Field, that was on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM as the Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week. And those 2 teams from our area playing in a semi-state, we were guaranteed a local team to make it down there. Luers is one of those teams, and ultimately we got 4 out of it. We talked about Luers, and we have East Noble. They won their semi-state over Mishawaka, and then in 3A Luers, like I said, 2A Adams Central, and then in 5A we had Warsaw, which we've kind of I think the word Brett Rump has said is adopted. So adopted Warsaw. They're just outside of that Fort Wayne area, kind of with their own media and all of that, with the newspapers and some of they almost go to South Bend TV to put it into perspective. But anyway, a great season for them. They're going on to the 5A state championship game for the first time in school history.
I know.
First time ever. And think about it. I was counting it up, and we're going to have Kameron Kauffman on later in the show from Warsaw, the offensive lineman, to talk about the Tiger season. But this program started in 1901, Warsaw football. They've played 1,078 games, and now they get their chance to go play for a state championship. Now, first semi-state, first regional ever in school history as well. So congrats to them. Bart Curtis, their longtime coach there, how long and longtime coach in Indiana. He was at Mishawaka now. And so his opportunity to go there. So it's a great story for them. And so we'll be delighted to have feature Warsaw a little bit this week, and should be fun.
Coach Curtis, again, I've known Bart for a number of years, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy that puts in the time and the dedication to his players and kids. And he's been at Warsaw now, and they've welcomed his brand of ball, Bart Ball, and they found a way to get themselves down to the state tourney championship by not going through an easy group of games. Let's put it that way. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few. But this game Friday between Garrett and Bishop Luers, there was one big adjustment at halftime that Coach Lindsay made coming out in the second half that ultimately made the biggest difference in the entire game. He got away from all the spread offensive stuff and went to basically 2 tight ends, a flanker, and a running back. And that's how they played the entire second half, basically on the ground. Now, White did throw a touchdown pass, the one I believe that may have tied it up on a play action pass, but a complete and utter change of philosophy. Not that they haven't had those formations all year, but they just felt they needed to bow up and play some hard-nosed football. And then the defense also went to just running one front in the second half to let the kids play, don't overthink it, and they shut down a prolific offense the entire second half of that game. And it was such a bad night in the sense of weather that wasn't going to be very friendly to offensive teams.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about the play selection with the weather that was out there on Friday night. Jace White, 2 for 6 for 48 yards and a touchdown. But the rushing attack for Bishop Luers, 38 attempts by 5 different guys, 224 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns, all 3 from Daria Williams, who had 27 carries for 183 yards. And, that's kind of been the Bishop Luers mentality and mode all season long, is almost like that stop us if you can. And look, through the SAC season, they were stopped a lot, and we saw that. But I think, like everything else, like we've talked about for the last 2 years now, the SAC schedule and the 2 conference games off the front really benefit the SAC teams in getting ready for the state tournament. For Luers, they played Leo and New Haven, and it was a 3-point loss to Leo and then a 2-point win over New Haven, that split game where it went into Saturday. And then for Luers, they've won close games, they've won blowouts, they've lost close games, they've lost blowouts. Here they are in the 3A state championship after a year after winning the 2A state championship. They've got the playmakers, and I think whatever that conversation was at halftime and the adjustments they made certainly really paid off and worked for Luers.
Well, first of all, number one, we said early on that they had a defense that we said that was kind of in that championship caliber arena, as did we do with Garrett. And unfortunately for Garrett, they just really could not get anything overly established in the second half. And that was predominantly to the defense of Bishop Luers. And of course, on a slippery surface, sometimes it really lends to an offensive advantage than it does a defensive advantage, because offense knows where they're going. But the big guys up front for the Bishop Luers offense, they got some healthy guys back here the last couple of weeks. And it proved to be a big help to their offensive line that they were able to allow Williams to get outside a few times. And, he's got speed. I mean, he's just one of those kids. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up in the state championship. We'll get to that soon, but we better bring in our first guest because he's anxiously awaiting, right? Max Kaehr from the Adams Central Jets, who had a big win after week 1 stumble at Garrett, who everybody thought that was some type of fluke loss, end up being a darn good loss comparing to the fact that Garrett went undefeated and was actually pretty decent teams, Max. And you guys go up to Andrean, which is not an easy place to go play.
No.
And the weather being what it was in some respects may have helped you, may have not. But anytime you got to go on the road and get a win, that's not an easy task, is it?
No, especially going up to Andrean like that. It's like 3-hour bus ride. We were blessed with charter buses that we could take up there, but it's still just a long drive and kind of just takes a little bit out of you.
Yeah. What was some of the I mean, I guess what were some things that maybe you guys were focused on with 𝙭🌗? I know I think they run more of a spread offense, but like to run the quarterback quite a bit. And then again, for you guys, what were you looking at in terms of their defense that maybe concerned you heading up there on Friday night?
Their size was always kind of something that we couldn't overlook for sure. They had a lot of size on us. We're not a very big team, but we definitely have stepped it up, and I think we have a lot of heart, and that I think that makes up for some of your size. As far as their offense, I think we just worked on stopping the big plays. We came into it and we were like, if we were going to win, we couldn't let them make any big plays.
Right. Yeah, that's the number one category for any defensive team is not to give up the cheap scores. At least if they're going to try to score on you, make them earn it. And it's not always an easy task for an offense to move the ball consistently on a long field, no matter who you're playing, let alone one of the top defenses in the area. But setting the table a little bit, you guys moved from 1A, where you had played Indianapolis Lutheran for three straight years, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
Now you moved to 2A, and the chances that you would line up again against Indianapolis Lutheran were looking like it was going to be a pretty good shot because they played, I think, Linton. But unfortunately for Lutheran, they end up losing. So now you get to play a different face than you're accustomed to seeing for 3 years in Linton. So tell us a little bit about what may you know or not know about Linton.
We're just going into a new team. I find it kind of fun, when we're playing a new team. They don't know much about us. We don't know much about them. It just keeps a little bit of offset, it's just a little bit of mystery to the game. You don't know quite what to expect, but I really don't know much about them, so I can't really tell you much.
You'll let the coaches worry about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, dude.
Max Kaehr joining us here. Talk about this run the last 4 years. I mean, we've talked about it: 4 straight ACAC championships, 4 straight sectionals, 4 straight regionals, 4 state semi-states. You're going back to the state finals for a 4th year in a row. There's a goose egg there. You guys got another chance.
Mm-hmm.
This team, especially after that Garrett loss, we're like, well, maybe it's a down year for Adams Central. I don't think there is such a thing. Talk about this team and just the ability to, year after year, crank out a really fine program each and every year, regular season and postseason.
I think just the coaching staff that we have and the community that we have behind us, we went 3 hours away to 𝙭🌗, and we had the guest student section just packed. There's a ton of people there. The community that we have is just amazing and great. Our coaching staff, they've been through it and they've been there a long time. They know each other well, and they just worked well together. Coach Moser can really see what's going on in the defense and just what's going to work best. And our offense just works best when we just get those little things at a time, just going out there and just grinding down the field. We don't need big plays. We just need 3 or 4 yards every drive. And I think that's what works best for our wing tee offense.
Yeah. That wing tee offense, just as a whole, that program, I mean, where does it start? I mean, you guys, Monroe, Indiana, Adams Central, small town Indiana, for you guys, where did you get kind of introduced to what is Adams Central football and the success we've seen last 20, 25 years through that program, especially with coach there, just the ability to continue to do that? Where does it start in the youth football down there?
It starts at a very young age. We're always out there on the blacktop or, just playing on the playground, messing around with your friends. And just like you said, the community, as a little kid, you were brought to all the football games and you experienced what it was like. And I think we just get a lot of people in our school that just want to go out for that because they want that support from the community. It's just a big thing to be on the football team. We're basically worshipped. I don't want to, it's how it is in high school football, but I think that's a big part of it.
Looked up to.
Yeah, that's a better word.
the defensive side of things, you play both ways, but primarily as a linebacker. You were all state a year ago, second team all conference. Obviously, I think it's they haven't announced the teams this year, but I think it's looking pretty good for you, first team. But that defense, 9.9 against all year long. We hear a lot about the offense for Adams Central. What about this defense has made it so good?
We got a lot of fire on our defense. I'll tell you what. I mean, we'll come out there and, no matter our size, we're ready to put the hit to somebody. I mean, it doesn't matter what their size are. We're just run them into the ground. I mean, we got a lot of not huge guys, but guys that want to go out there and do their responsibility and, just just have fun, I guess. We're just going to go out there and put the hit on somebody.
Sure. The previous trips to state, you're a senior. I mean, what, coming up short 3 years in a row, what does that do to the motivation of you guys' team and it just getting back there time after time? I mean, we talked about it. Warsaw, 1901, first time going to state, you guys 3 years in a row. What that's like down there, that heartbreak 3 years in a row, and the motivation it goes towards the next season.
It puts a little fire in us, just like not being able to make it all the way there. Like we made it all the way there and we weren't able to finish what we started. I think that just gives us a little bit of an edge over Linton, just because we've been there so much and they haven't. But I think it gives us a fire underneath us, and that we want it now. We're hungry for it, and now we're not going to stop until we get it.
Sure. Coach?
Yeah, Max, and hopefully you can still hear me. Sometimes my computer glitches up. Let's talk a little bit about kind of your schedule this week. It's a shortened week with Thanksgiving, so you got some things that are not accustomed to how to do things. How has being in the tournament, the state finals, the last few years kind of given you guys maybe a little bit of advantage over like a Linton Stockton because you kind of been there, done that? What does your schedule look like when you talk about this week?
So this week I think we're going down, us captains, we're going down for media day to Indy for the coin toss and stuff.
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep. And then Wednesday we go down for practice. We've been on there quite a few times. That's been pretty fun to practice on the Colts stadium, and then I think we're going to do a pep rally with our community, just to get everybody hyped up and excited. And then we'll head down early Friday morning and everybody will be cheering us on as we're driving down the road on the way there.
Because that's if I'm not mistaken, that is a 11 o'clock kick on Friday morning. Have you found that to be a little bit of a issue from the standpoint you have to leave probably your high school, 7:30? That Friday morning is kind of probably what you guys look at, but what do you do? Do you eat prior to going down, or how do you adjust that? Because playing in a dome stadium can dehydrate you really quick. And I know there's a lot about hydration during the week and so forth and so on, but playing that early game, 11 a.m. Friday morning, what are some things that you guys got to do this week and then the day of the game to make sure your nutrition is taken care of?
So Coach Schmoser, as soon as we won Friday night, the next morning he sends out a text and he's like, "Hey guys, start drinking your water, start getting hydrated for the dome, just kind of getting our bodies ready for it. We're just going to try to eat, keep it healthy, and not just going off on a rampage as Thanksgiving's coming up here, he's just said, try to contain what you eat, and don't stuff yourself. You don't feel sick the next day, but
all right.
Yeah.
So will you leave? What time do you guys plan on leaving Friday morning?
I would say maybe before 6, I'd say. Probably.
Because most coaches like to get to the game site at least 2 hours prior to kickoff. So that would mean trying to be in Indy by 9:30, which means you'd have to leave yourself in a good enough time to get there, depending on weather and things of that can mess things up at the same time. So, but we appreciate you joining us here upon further review, Max, and you know, these games, and this is your last chance to get one done. You've played in 3 of them, or, you know, for the most part. What is your biggest takeaway from being a part of these state championships games that you'll take away after the double zeros hit the scoreboard on Friday?
I think the biggest thing is just the memories that we'll make. You know, I mean, I'll look back on this when I'm however old and just realize what a great experience I've had, you know, all 4 years. Like a lot of guys don't even get to experience that, you know, they don't even get to
Right.
make it down to the state championship. You know, we're so blessed to make it all the way to state where some teams are glad to make it out of regionals. But yeah, I think the memories that we'll make and the friendships that we'll have there will just be a huge thing.
Well, Max, we appreciate you coming on tonight. Best of luck to you and to the Adams Central Flying Jets in the 2A state championship down at Lucas Oil Stadium, 11 a.m. Friday kickoff Eastern time, our time here in Northeast Indiana. Number 4 Adams Central at 13-1, taking on number 7 Linton Stockton. They'll be calling them Linton all game long. 12-2. They're back there. They've had a couple of state championships in 1A, not that far back in the last decade or so. So a solid program there. We certainly wish you the best, Max, and bring home the title for the Flying
Yes,
Jets.
sir. Thank you.
All
Good
right.
luck, Max. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. That was Max Kaehr. We found out it is pronounced Kaehr, Kaehr, pronounced Kaehr down there. Thanks so much for him joining us tonight. And Coach, you know, here they are again, and kind of the team we've talked about for the last several years. Now, I mean, they're the higher ranked team, so I think they're going to be that favorite in that regard. But also, too, like I said, the heartbreak of the last 3 years. This is definitely a business trip for Adams Central.
Well, look at it this way. The last 3 years they've played Indianapolis Lutheran, who had the ability to lay in their own beds, not to say Adams Central will not, but their travel was maybe 30 minutes. Adams Central's travel is always going to be a 2-hour trip, and you heard about what time they will have to leave. That's a huge advantage for a team that's local over a team that has to travel. In some respects, I always wonder if they ever take that into account when they talk about some of these games and start times, because look at it. You know, Adams Central's not going to go on Thanksgiving Day down to Indianapolis and pay for hotel rooms and things of that nature. So I've always wondered about that from that perspective, because that's a huge advantage for a team that's local and has been for those teams that are in the Indianapolis metro area or within a 30-40 minute drive of Lucas Oil. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you've got to think that their experience of the last 3 years is going to help them immensely going up against a team like Linton. Now, you heard him talk about Andrea, and the one thing that they've probably found out is the size differential between a 1A team and a 2A team in some respects, because their schools may be a little bit bigger. They may have a little bit bigger bodies and things of that nature. So there's probably a little bit of that will maybe advantage to Linton Stockton. But I like Adams Central chances. They, you know, again, they have perfected on what they do and how they do it. And Coach Mosier knows how to get a team not only there, but prepare for what the challenges will be and to meet them head on.
Yeah, absolutely. Linton, towards the southwestern part of the state, they've got about an hour and 40-minute drive into Lucas Oil Stadium from their town. Mostly, you know, once they get on I-70 in, it's fine, but they got 231 in there anyway. But they're not too far from kind of between Vincennes and Terre Haute.
It's at least equal in the respect of having to bus and drive. And like I said, if you want to get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're talking about being on the bus and pulling out at 7.
Yeah.
And you got to get kids fed. You got to make sure they have some, you know, fruits and things for the travel down and water. So it's a very challenging proposition to play a game on Friday morning at 11 a.m.
Yeah, absolutely. Linton 12-2, like we mentioned. They started off the year with a loss to Marion out of Ohio, and then played some teams and went on a streak. And so they started 3-2 and then have won 12 ever since. Of course, the big win, I mean, beating Indianapolis Lutheran last week. Brownstown Central, another really strong team, their first loss of the year.
Linden's had some good teams over the years.
Linden has had some good teams. Just looking at their coach is Brian Oliver, 12th year at the school, 126-27 in 12 years.
All you need to know.
So yeah, exactly. They won the state championship in Class 1A in 16. They went back to back in 15 and 16. And then this is their second regional in 3 years. And then,
Crazy.
So they've had really strong teams and good success, particularly in the last, 10 to 15 years, in Class 1A. And so, there again, I think they've had those times where they've run into some really strong teams, but even looking at their tournament history, I don't even really see Indy Lutheran on there they're back this far for the first time in a long time. And so congrats to them as well, because there's a team that very successful team that has been able to win some state titles, and it's been a long layoff. And I know as a Snyder grad, when that happens, a lot of times things get antsy. Or when you go a long time without winning a state title. So they're back in it. The Miners of Linton Stockton down by not too far from Vincennes against Adams Central. Again, at 11 a.m. on Friday for the first game of 6 over the course of the weekend. So good luck to them. Well, another team from our area to make it to the state finals for the first time ever on this account is the Warsaw Tigers coach. And we're delighted tonight to be joined by one of their Warsaw captains from the team, Kameron Kauffman, joining us tonight. Kameron, thanks so much for joining us. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, congrats to this Warsaw team. I mean, heading to the state finals. Wow. I mean, what was Friday like for you, your teammates, that coaching staff, and that community to call yourself semi-state champions and punch your ticket to Lucas Oil Stadium?
It was kind of hard to believe. I think everybody was in shock until we finally realized the score had us as far ahead as we were, and just the community was electric, and it was a fantastic atmosphere afterwards.
Yeah. What has this run been like for you? I mean, you guys have, I think, several top 5 teams, number 1 Concord in there. I think Lafayette Central Catholic, Lafayette Jeff in there was a top 5 team. And then, of course, this game last Friday. Just talk about what you guys have been able to do this postseason. You're 10-3. You avenged the loss with Concord, hitting on all cylinders. Really sound victory over Maryville, now state. Just what this team's been able to put together the last month of the season.
So, like you said, we lost to Concord the first time, and then we went the next week and we lost to Plymouth. And I think just as a team, we realized that we needed to lock in and start working on some of the small things, working on technique, working on being physical, and just getting to the ball and moving as fast and as hard as possible. And we've just been able to keep building off the past week, and practices have just keep getting better and better. So we've just added on top of better and better things, and it's just been getting much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the list here, number 2 Maryville on Friday for your first ever semi-state, number 3 Lafayette Jeff at the regional, and number 1 Concord and your first trip to the state finals. 1,000 games played in the school history. Talk about this year, this growth. What is it about this season in particular, Cam, that you guys have kind of been able to cross that threshold and get beyond regionals?
I think one of the biggest is as a team, I've been a varsity player for about 3 years now. And this year we've just been such a tight knit group. And whenever somebody is down a part of the game, we're able to lift each other up. And I think just the tightness of our team has been able to help boost us past sectional and regional and now semi-state.
Yeah. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, let's talk about that little, I guess you call it the wishbone there inside of your football on your shirt. Bart ball, and we've heard it called Bart ball, and I think everyone's pretty well knowledgeable that you guys run the triple option as your main running play. Talk a little bit about, the transition from what you had maybe been running your freshman year, because when did Coach Curtis come in? Was he there your freshman year? That when
he actually came when I was in 6th grade, so I got lucky. I have been immersed in the program pretty much since he got here.
So you started running the triple when you were in middle school, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So talk about that transition into something that, we don't see all that much now in football.
Well, it was just, the first thing was it was super unique because the old high school coach wasn't super invested in the younger programs. But Coach Curtis, as soon as he came in, he was always going to the youth events. He was always at the middle schools teaching them up. And then he'll have summer camps and stuff, allowing younger kids to come in and learn the program better. And it's paid off because the younger kids now get the program so much better than the earlier kids did. And it's just been great.
So talk about, what it's like blocking in this scheme of things. And I'm going to see if I can pull some of this up here because I think it's interesting to see. You got it, dude. Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
What you're responsible for. Hey, you're throwing the football. What in the heck is going on there, Cameron?
This is the Northridge game highlights that I was able to find here. So,
holy cow, my man. Well, you guys are always in a 4-point stance, and you're really just trying to get into the defensive lineman's legs for the most part.
Yeah, there's not really anything flashy to it. It's just head down, hit as hard as possible, keep moving, try and get about 3 yards per play.
3 yards in a cloud of dust is what it's called. Take us through what a practice is like, because, this is one thing I don't think everybody understands when it comes to running a quote unquote specialty offense, because it's not just throw the ball out and we're going to run this play, the dive, which is your number one play, and go from there. But it's something that you have to diligently work at year round to a degree. So talk a little bit about that process for you, especially as an all offensive lineman.
So our practices start with we call it SOS, same old stuff. So where you're just working your technique, you're doing your down blocks, you're doing your dig blocks. You do that for good 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And then we'll go into our team sets. And they go by different names, but in the end, it's just 3 different times where we run the same plays over and over and over again. And it gets repetitive, but then when you see in the game, when you do the same thing over and over and over again, you see why you do it. So,
yeah, reps makes perfect, right? Now, who is your offensive line coach? Is it Coach Curtis's son?
So we have 3 of them. We have Coach Curtis Jr., we have Coach Jones, and then Coach Heckman. Okay,
Coach Curtis Jr. played football at Ohio University, so he was a Mid-American Conference player. Brady Jones is who you're referencing, correct?
Yes, sir.
He played for me when I was the head football coach at Manchester University and was a very good offensive lineman. So at least I have an idea who you're around. But talk a little bit about those coaches and kind of what they've meant to you guys up front, because you're getting a pretty good group of guys teaching you.
So on the field, it's fantastic. They're always coaching you up. They're always helping you. And they're not that one kind of coach to where you're going to mess up and they're just going to keep harping you on you over and over and over again and help you work through it. And then we'll take a step back and there'll be a day we'll just do a step through, your veer releases are bad. We'll take it step by step by step to fix it. And I think one of the parts that I respect out of both of them is that on the field, they're great guys, but off the field, they're even better. And they're really good role models. And if you need help with either football or life off the field, they're always there. They're always there to listen, and they're just fantastic guys.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think that's why coaches to have an impact on a kid on and off the field. It doesn't just mean that they coach you for 2 hours a day. It's a everyday proposition. What does your week look like building up to your games this Friday? What is it? Do you know what your practice and things are going to look like here? Or
I don't. I know we have normal practice Monday and Tuesday, and I think Wednesday we're down at the stadium. But besides that, I have no idea.
Drink a lot of water. I'm sure you've heard that already because the domes will dehydrate you quickly.
Yeah.
Dude, you got anything for this?
Yeah,
young
just
man?
real quick, another multi-sport athlete, just doing some research on you. Conference champion in wrestling, sectional and regional runner-up there, and then really good showing. I think the sectional champion in discus and shot put.
Yes.
Wow. So really, almost like 4 sports. Really, when you start mixing up the throwing objects. But talk about that. I mean, as an offensive lineman, just carrying that throughout wrestling, throws and track and field and football, how that all is interconnected for you to become a really solid offensive lineman for the Warsaw Tigers.
So, like, obviously all the sports are different and the movements are different, but like the core element to all of them is you need to be ridiculously explosive. And like my years of doing all 3 sports, because I started doing wrestling and track in middle school, so I've been doing all 3 for about 6 years. And just I've been in the weight room training explosiveness, and just like the actually doing your sport will make you more explosive, and it's all just tied together better than I would have ever imagined.
Sure. The community, what's it been like in Warsaw the last couple of weeks? In the school building, in the businesses in town, what's it like there with what you guys have been able to do?
It's been crazy because like our town looks like a normal town. This past couple weeks, everything's orange and black. You go into this store, it's got orange and black all down the windows. You go into this store, and then I think part of the coolest part is like you'll walk down the hallways, and each one of the teachers has their door all sort of decorated for the football players, and it's awesome to see.
Sure. Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck this weekend on the Class 5A championship. Just real quick about Decatur Central, as you look ahead, they went to state a year ago. They lost to Snyder in that state championship, but really the focus this week, because I think their coach played at Warsaw. Am I right, Coach 𝙧𝚊𝚡?
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah. Coach Brad 𝙧𝚊𝚡, he played for me at Ball State.
But notwithstanding that, this game, the state championship coming up against Decatur Central, just the opportunity that lays ahead for you guys, and really what this week looks like for you guys, especially seniors. Cameron.
Sorry, what was that question?
I'm just asking the Decatur Central, the foe you're playing against this week at the state championship, just what, as those preparations get ready, what you're keying in on this week related to the X's and O's from that team.
I think our biggest thing, and one thing we've done better than normal years, is we just keep treating it like it's a normal week. Because if you treat everything the same, you're going to go out and you're going to perform your best. If you treat it like, oh, I'm going out to play at the Super Bowl, your nerves and stuff get you. So we've been focusing on just playing normal and never underestimating our foe, because, I mean, there was a couple of early times of the season where we underestimated people we shouldn't have, and it came back to bite us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've got a really good quarterback that you're going to play against in Bo Paulston, who's the University of Toledo commit right now, but he's a really good quarterback. So this is going to be a great game.
Absolutely. Well, Cam, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for joining us on Upon Further Review. The first Warsaw Tiger to do so. We'll certainly be watching as you guys face Decatur Central in the 5A state championship at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. Live from Lucas Oil Stadium, and we wish you the best there. Good luck.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to come on here.
Absolutely, young man.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That was Cam Kauffman, offensive lineman, wrestler, shot put, discus, really solid athlete, a captain on that team, and we were trying to get somebody from Warsaw on, and I had reached out to a couple of the other guys, and they had some other commitments, but they said, Cam's the guy. He's the one to talk to. He's a captain, and he's really good at interviews. So obviously that showed, Coach. But
you can see why he's a captain.
Absolutely. And when he talked, you could tell that he can, he likes to throw the shot put, and he's
a big, strong kid. Moves well.
Offense, in that weight class. But what a story for Warsaw the opportunity for them, the opportunity for Coach Bart Curtis, who's been around forever, as far as I'm concerned, and you know, one of the long-standing coaches in the state of Indiana, now finally getting opportunity to play for a state title. A great town, great football program, and now it's paying off with getting the biggest stage of them all.
Well, like I said, there's no one that works harder than Coach Curtis. As you heard Cam actually, you know, talk about the impression that Coach Curtis has had in that community and with the kids from a very young age, that he involves himself in their sports and then ultimately in their football, because he wants those kids to be immersed in Warsaw Tiger football from the time they can pick up a football in Pee Wee all the way up through the time they go through middle school and eventually end up at Warsaw. So it is a truly something that Coach Curtis, a well-deserving individual, coach as well, as you can see his, you know, what he's done through the years. And you know, he was at Mishawaka for a number of years and had some really good teams, but always would run into the Pens of the world at some point in time. And then, you know, I think a lot of people were honestly quite shocked that he left Mishawaka and went to Warsaw. And he, for whatever reason, he saw an opportunity there to take a program and turn them into somebody that something that could be a contender and ultimately get to the state finals, which they will this week. And you can't imagine, I mean, the job that he's done. And he came in there winning right away, because remember, he took over a Warsaw team that was really down in terms of where they were at in terms of win and loss records. And he came in from the get-go and started winning, and he upset Carroll that one year. Was that regional, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that was 2019.
Yeah, that was against Carroll.
And that was the first time that they had won the regional.
And
the only time prior to Friday this season, I should say. So Bart Curtis, 7 years, I think. Let me go pull 7th year at Warsaw, 58-20, 34 years as a head coach with 259 career wins. He's won a couple of, what did it say? One regional before this season, and 1, 2, 3. Oh, he did go to semi-state. 2012, they went to semi-state in Mishawaka. So don't want to leave that out.
Think
But
about that.
Years. Good success throughout the years. He was at Mechanical before that, New Prairie for a couple of years, won a couple of sectionals in a regional there. So definitely one of those guys that has been around the block. And there again, with Warsaw kind of just being on that fringe of Fort Wayne, media market, they don't get as much publicity in Fort Wayne like they did probably 30 years ago. But, you know, we wanted to at least acknowledge them and their season that they've been able to have, and a team that
I look at
able
them
to put it together, because I think that bodes well too, because a lot of teams are going to, want to start scheduling them too. And so we might see down the line some matchups with Warsaw.
Nobody wants to play that.
Well, that could be too. I mean, that's what I mean. That's the
nobody wants
to dare. But because so many of these teams, I mean, it's crazy to see so many of these teams that do that wishbone style, and it proves to be successful at the high school level. And I can only imagine there again, the defensive side of things, like what it takes to, in a week or two's time, hone in on your, especially with everything that's going on. Like with Decatur Central has to play Warsaw now.
Mm-hmm.
And they've basically, with the Thanksgiving break, it's just crazy. So, honing in on that style of football, it's got to be really tough.
They get about 1, maybe 2 days to really work at it, because you've already heard them, captain's meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, they get their practice time. And I'm not sure when that is for, Decatur Central. That may be Tuesday. So when you're playing somebody like Warsaw, it is a very time consuming. It's very, blood pressure high because you're trying to do something in such a short amount of time to get your kids ready for it. And it's hard to practice at number one. But you brought up Brad Cease, who's I believe the head coach at Decatur Central. He was at Warsaw, played there. I maybe think he actually coached there as an assistant because he played for us at Ball State when I was coaching at Ball State. And he's been a high school coach ever since. He went down to Florida for a little bit before coming back up. A very good coach. So Bo Polston, I think, is the quarterback that they have that's committed to Toledo. And I think he's a lefty, but he can really spin it. I mean, he's a really good quarterback. And so this will be an interesting game from the standpoint you got a team that's going to be more pass oriented versus a team that's going to be totally run oriented, playing a game that I'm sure Warsaw wants to shrink it as much as possible to keep the offense of Decatur Central on the sideline as much in this ball game.
Yeah, and a really good team there. Well, some other players just to throw out real quick. Cohen Hetty, linebacker, captain, their quarterback, Sullivan. Let me pull up here. Drew Sullivan, a senior, 6'3", 210 quarterback. He does a lot of the heavy loads of the running game and just their ability. I mean, it's amazing to see some of that stuff that they do sometimes with that triple option, that BART ball, but it is proven to be successful, and we certainly wish them the best. And we are grateful that we could talk to one of their captains tonight in Cam Kauffman. Well, Coach, that sets the table now for state championships this Friday and Saturday. We'll run through these games, some of the other games real quickly. And I think, we talked about the 5A game of Warsaw. Let's go ahead real quick and look at the 4A state championship. The East Noble Knights return to the Lucas Oil Stadium to face New Palestine, Indiana. They return to the state finals as well. 3 o'clock on Friday, number 2 versus number 1 for all the marbles in Class 4A. And wow, what a year it's been for East Noble to get back here with a new coach in Alex Stewart, but a lot of the same playmakers that we've seen the last couple of years, and Dylan Crail and some of the others. But this is going to be a fun one and a great opportunity for East Noble to get another state championship.
Yeah, we'll have that game on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. I know on one day, depending on what may happen to Purdue basketball, I believe it would be determined whether it be stream only or whatever. So you'll have to wait and hear for what may or may not be happening as it pertains to our broadcast. But New Pal is going to be a big challenge for East Noble, but we said it all along. This team has been a team on a mission and a defense that has played very well all year long. An offense that, has done just as much as the D, very complimentary football team in terms of O&D. So they're going to have a great opportunity Friday because they play at 3 o'clock, which is also going to give them time to travel down, not be in such a hurry. And New Pal, of course, is, right there on the outskirts of Indy in that 30-40 minute window away from Lucas Oil. So they'll have that advantage, but having it more in the afternoon as opposed in the morning will be a big help for East Noble. And again, the job that Alex Stewart's done in terms of this football team in general, first year to have such a magical year. And Coach Amstutz is as much a part of this group as well, because these are in some respects his kids that, he has groomed through the program for a number of years. So I'm happy for that aspect of things. So it should be this one also should be a dandy of a game because both teams, 13 plus wins. I want to say New Pal may be undefeated. Are they undefeated?
They are 13-0. Yes.
Yeah. So they're undefeated. And of course, East Noble, that one blemish to Snyder in a Friday/Saturday game that I still don't really count against them there. So this is going to be I think another game that East Noble's fully capable of winning, and they prove it last week by going to Mishawaka and beating Mishawaka in their own backyard and not doing it the easy way. They actually had to come from behind to win that ball game. And that's the thing, is that these kids have got that winning mentality that it doesn't matter what the obstacles are, they're going to find a win and a way to win. And again, these games are going to come down to turnovers and how good you play in your special teams, because that ultimately will figure big time in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. New Pal 13-0, averaging 40.3 points per game on offense and averaging 8.8 against on defense. They have a 1,800-yard passer with by the name of what's the first name there? Jacob Davis. 22 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then their running game, they've amassed over nearly 3,700 yards, which is 263 per game. Their leading rusher, Josh Raines, who's just gone over 2,000 yards, has 26 touchdowns on the year. So from the defense perspective for East Noble, they're going to have their work cut out for them, but they've played big all year long. They're averaging 38.6 points per game, 10 points on defense. And so we've seen Dylan Crail, the ability to that chunk yardage scenario, that 10 yards per carry. That really has been a successful thing. And Riley Biddle coming on as a remarkable quarterback, also gets it done as a defensive back with some key interceptions throughout the season. So I think, it's going to be a tough game. East Noble's got the shot, but I think they've got what it takes to do it. And we hope that certainly we're wishing East Noble the best in that Class 4A championship at 3:00 on Friday. Moving on to the 3A championship, Bishop Luers. Looky here. Here they are once again in the state championship. They're number 16 in the AP rankings. It's the others receiving votes outside of the top 10, facing number 3 Heritage Hills at 13-1. It's a 3:00 Saturday game for the 3A championship. And, Coach, Luers just keeps doing what the Lou does. And here we are back at Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, you could almost say that it's Luers Oil Stadium. I don't know if that's too far, but at the very least, here they are playing for another state title again.
Well, but they're, because of success factor, they have to move up one notch. So that wasn't too big of an obstacle for them to get back to Lucas Oil. Playing Heritage Hills will be a huge obstacle for them. Heritage Hills has a good solid tradition. Again, the fact that these both teams are not right there, proves that's an equal distribution of travel time and such. So I do think this game will be a game that will feature Luers defense against the Heritage Hills team that has always kind of had a passing element to it. Kind of similar to New Pal in some respects, but I think this will be a game that, again, for Luers to have success, they've got to stay away from making bad decisions that result in turnovers and not having the bonehead penalties. And that's one thing they did quite well outside of that first quarter against the Garrett. They really didn't have too many penalties that day. So again, as long as they stay in that category where they play a good hard-nosed game, keep it between the white lines and don't give the officials an excuse to throw a flag, they'll have a chance.
Yeah. Heritage Hills beats Batesville at the semi-state 42-0 at regional. North Harrison down by Corydon at 50-7. Evansville Memorial 38-24 in the sectional final. So the sectional probably was more of the test for Heritage Hills. Yep. Now they come up against Bishop Luers, and so it'll be really interesting to see Jet Goldsberry, the junior quarterback for Heritage Hills, 1,700 yards passing, 1,500 yards rushing, 25 on the ground, 26 through the air. So Jet, name to remember. And one trivia, Heritage Hills has won one state championship in 2000. Do do you know, Coach, who the quarterback of that team was? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but this is
2000.
2000 Heritage Hills State
I think
Championship.
I think I may have recruited him.
Okay.
So it's got to be. He was with. I think he went to Vanderbilt ultimately to play there at Vandy.
Jay
So
Cutler.
yeah, Jay Cutler, right?
Jay Cutler from Santa Claus, Indiana, was the quarterback of that team that won the state championship in 2000. Went on to play at Vanderbilt, and then in the NFL, most of the time with the Chicago Bears, some time with the Denver.
Yeah, we
Broncos.
recruited him. I was in his front family room, but
yeah,
Andy came
how's
out.
Santa Claus? Nice town.
Santa Claus is a great town to go visit.
I told my kids earlier this week, I said, do you know there's a place called Santa Claus, Indiana? Can we go? I don't want to drive 5 hours to go.
Yeah.
No.
But it's great. I'll tell you this. I've been there.
Right around the Ohio River, I've
been there to visit outside of no football reason, but it is kind of a fun little town to go and visit. And the Santa Claus.
Under that year, they win the state title in overtime against Zionsville. So there's a little trivia there too. But Lures has had some good players to reach the NFL as well too. So we can't.
Right.
And really, the success of Lures too. I mean, just talking about it.
They beat Massanutten, they beat Mechanicawa, and now they beat Garrett. I believe all of those were undefeated teams.
Top four. Number 4 Garrett undefeated. Mechanicawa was 5th or something, and they were undefeated. And Massanutten was a top 5 team, I believe, as well. I think
they were ranked number 1.
So and Massanutten was that team that started the year with 5 straight shutouts. So definitely. Lures, I can't ever go against them when they get to the state finals. So that should be a good one as well. And then of course, Adams Central and Linton. And then we also have in the 3A game, the 5A game, Warsaw and Decatur Central. And the 6A game, not to sleep on that, real quickly, Shamrocks of Westfield versus Brownsburg. First time since they started Class 6A, Coach, we don't have Warren Central, we don't have Ben Davis, we don't have Carmel, and we don't have Center Grove in the state championship. But we have Westfield, which I'm sure Westfield's been there a few times.
Right. First time there will not be an Indianapolis school that would potentially win it. I think that's how I heard it.
I think it's the old MIC conference, which Center Grove is no longer part of, which
they kicked them out.
They kicked them out, and Carmel too, I think. So that was just an interesting stat there. We don't need to break down that game. Brownsburg's been good all year long.
Yeah, that should be a good game too.
Davis earlier in the playoffs, and Westfield, always a strong team.
Westfield's due because they've been knocking on the door for quite some time. So this, I think, they're trying to break it down, kind of like Adams Central is.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, how could we forget North Judson in 1A? That's another.
Oh man.
Now they've cleared the way of Adams Central and Indianapolis Lutheran. That's where we saw South Adams get on a roll there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think North Judson gets it done and finally cracks through their first state championship. Last time they did that was 1986. So a lot of storylines, Coach, out of the state finals this Friday and Saturday. Of course, a number of the games will be broadcast, and the schedule for that, you can look at our friends from 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. They'll have all the details on what they'll be doing and where those games will be broadcast and at what time. But partner, it's been a great season, and we're still going. We're going to plan on doing another show next week after the state finals, just to kind of wrap up, see where things lie, and just kind of wrap things up for the year. But it's been an incredible year, and hopefully we get some state champions out of this weekend.
Yeah, it should be a fun one down there Friday and Saturday, and we'll see what all happens. And happy Thanksgiving to those in the Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana area, and we'll catch you again at another time, Mr. Doot. So have a happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, and happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners and viewers out there. This has been Upon Further Review, the semi-state preview. We'll see you next week as we recap the state championships And have a good one from all of us here at A Pawn for the Review. And enjoy the state finals.